Jacob, do you just want to touch on that, those comments? Because we were kind of following your Twitter commentary, I think, as we probably do on a Friday, those of us that are at work, from the press conference and some of the things that Sellés is coming out of. And obviously he was critical of Lavia. And at the time we thought, well, maybe this might just be a little lost in translation. But I know that you had the chance to delve a little deeper with that.
Yeah, a piece has just gone on the Athletic now about that because I found it curious because it was the last question that Sky asked in the broadcast section, and it was basically just an opportunity for Sellés to, it's an easy win just to expand and tell everyone how good Lavia is, what a player, how we signed for 12 million and he's going to be a really good player. But then he gave this short answer where he's not impressed. So I asked Rubén about it, and he went on for about 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and he started talking about how he wants him to dominate games and how he needs to keep his feet on the ground. And I think when you read it and you really analyse his comments, I think it's because he wants Southampton, or Sellés wants Southampton to be better in possession, to not sink deep like they did in the last 20 minutes against Leicester. He wants them to have more control. And it didn't matter so much under Jones because Jones basically bypassed the midfield a lot of the time. But I think Sellés recognises with 3 open play goals in 10 games pre-Leicester that Southampton have to carry more of a threat. They have to implement more patterns of play. And the way to do that is through sustaining attacks and keeping the ball. And Lavia is the best at keeping the ball. So although, he's nice and pretty and he garnishes games, Sellés wants him to make a bigger impact. And he's got 0 assists this season. He's got 1 goal, I think. Sellés wants big, impactful moments from Lavia. And although he's fantastic at getting out of tight pockets, how much of that really impacts the game on the scoreline? And I think that's one of the things that Rubén wanted. And I think we saw that in the first half. That tackle, like Glen and Steve said, was excellent, and it was overlooked at the time, but when you watch it back, you see how significant that was. And those are the type of examples that I think Rubén was alluding to in this presser.
Do you think it was a fair comment, Steve? I think with Nathan Jones, perhaps the comments in the press conferences were so often about him that anything about the players were overlooked. So maybe they didn't stand out. But I know that you and I were like, what? What's he on about?
It certainly seemed odd for those, because obviously the way these press conferences work, we get to see what happens in the broadcast press conference, but we've got no idea what happens in the written one, and it's all embargoed until like later that evening, so we don't hear for hours about what's been said in the follow-up. So yeah, like immediately following the following that press conference, it was a case of, well, I mean, is he kind of sort of just said something that made sense to him in Spanish and it's just not translated very well, or has he actually just said no? I've not been impressed by him. Was it literally as clear cut as that? And I think ultimately the answer is probably somewhere kind of vaguely in the middle, but varying sort of more towards him actually not being overly impressed. But I think it's more that he sees how much ability and potential the kid's got already at such a tender age, with such little first team senior experience, that he thinks that actually he should be able to kind of demonstrate this ability on a more consistent basis.